With Miller Mott College's online programs, you can choose when you study. Our online programs give you the flexibility to make education work with your schedule. Earn your degree without derailing your life. Visit us online at miller-mott.edu. That's miller-mott.edu.
Hi, my name is Richard Dix, and this is How Did That Happen? A podcast where I look at everyday things or events and try to figure out how they came to be. Every week I will research one topic, and by the end of the episode, I hope to truly have the answer to the question, how did that happen?
Just wanted to talk to you guys before the episode starts, like I have grown accustomed to do in these last couple episodes, and let you know where I stand with Schmanda Excess. If anybody was tuning in last week, have not been back yet. The Schmanda Excess have actually switched over my eating habits to a different area of the world. Been eating at a lot of European joints recently, a lot of Irish places and British places. Ate at a place, was it last night, called the Penny Lane Pub. What did I have, you ask? I had fish and chips and some Irish cheese fries, which are just cheese fries that you have in a European place, basically. But yeah, that's a little bit of extra if you're wondering about how I'm doing with the food poisoning. I have fully recovered and I'm back out here just letting my stomach just go raw dog on all this different food out here. But that's me. So we're gonna go ahead and go into the episode now. Hello and welcome to another episode of How Did That Happen? This week we are discussing bottled water, and I find out that some bottled water is just tap water rebranded. Looking at you, Aquafina. Come along for the ride this week as I ask, bottled water, how did that happen? So I wanted to start off by defining what bottled water is, or at least what the FDA, read you a small definition of what the FDA defines as bottled water, and it is water that is intended for human consumption and sealed in bottles or other containers with no added ingredients, except that it may contain a safe and suitable antimicrobial agent. Spring water as defined by the FDA, spring water is derived from an underground formation from which water flows naturally to the surface of the earth at an identified location. I don't know why that was so hard. So, and I learned a lot about water. I really did in this, and I mean, I honestly went into this thinking that I knew, a little bit, because I'm already a guy who, like, I do spring water, not purified water, because I saw some documentary on Netflix or whatever. Definitely, I think with most episodes, it just takes me to a whole nother level with the things that I know about these. All right, yeah. So I mean, I figure I'm just gonna keep giving you these definitions, and then if you want to skip past it, that's fine. But I figure it'll help, just because, I don't know, once I started looking at it, I realized there was just so many different types of water, and most people probably don't know all of these waters. I don't know, but so there's our artesian well water, which is this water, and I just watched this crazy video about it. It's not crazy, but it was crazy. The concept of it is pretty crazy. The artesian well water, yeah, it's water that comes from the ground, but it's not like a regular well where it's just where it's just water it's hard to explain. It's basically water. It's water under pressure, so it's water like through that's been sitting around a bunch of rocks, or it's a very porous rock with a lot of holes in it that water is able to get into, and then they tap something into that down into the ground, and then that from the pressure it just opens up, boom, and then you have water that comes out pretty fast. Basically, a simple way to explain it. The guy in the video, who's a park ranger, he explained it like a Capri Sun, which is probably even easier. Basically, he was the water inside, is the aquifer, and then there's the Capri Sun itself is the stones on the outside, and then you bash the yellow thing in there, which is your pipe to get down into the actual artesian well, and then boom, you have water. And then there's mineral water. This water comes from an underground source and contains at least 250 parts per million total dissolved solids. Minerals and trace elements must come from the source of the underground water. They cannot be added later. So this is just giving you a different idea of when you see different waters in the store, because there's a lot of different types of waters. So the actual story of water, excuse me, not the story of water, that's a long story. The story of bottled water, like most things, to me, start with the Romans, when they made aqueducts, which is basically they piped in water that they needed and sent it to certain places for convenience, which is something that many people didn't have before then. They were They were able to bring water from one source and put it to us, bring it to where they needed, which I thought was pretty important. And then 1622, which is like way later. I thought I wanted to start there because that's what I think when it really showed people that you could have water on call. I guess is why I put that in there first. I don't want to just jump 1,000 years because which I'm about to do. But it's like because there's a lot of stuff that happens then. But before then, I feel like people were always going to the water source. To me, that was one of the first instances in human history where people were bringing the water source to them, which is essentially what bottled water is. Like if you have a bottled water right there beside you, you brought that water source to you. And I feel like that technology, so to speak, to me kind of began with the Romans. So to set that to say, I'm going to jump ahead to the year 1622 when the Holywell bottling plant in the UK started, because that's the first bottled water plant in the world. And this practice spread to other places in Europe, all of them using natural springs at the time. The first use of these bottles was medicinal. They were thought to have therapeutic as well as physical healing benefits, and the emergence of bottled water can be traced back to spa culture during the 16 and 1700s. They would go to the natural springs as well as the spas and indulge in something called water therapy, which this continued on into the 1800s, and this led to it becoming a part of the lexicon among people. Bottled water. You go to the spa and you're like, well, what they have there? They have bottled water. And you're like, what? Pass it on. In 1767, the first commercially available bottled water was invented and sold by Jackson Spa in Boston, Massachusetts. The belief that the minerals in the spring water was a basic cure-all led to imitations coming on to the market, like pretty much right after that, with most things. Like I said, I mean, the best a form of flattery is copying somebody. I don't know. I probably made that up, but like the first carbonated water was created in Geneva, Switzerland, in 1783 by Johann Jacob Schwepp, originally a watchmaker and jeweler. He didn't create the science, but he copied it from a man named Joseph Priestley. And it's not to say that he copied. I mean, he definitely copied him, but basically at that time, a lot of people were messing around with it, and he just was saw what he was doing and was like, I want to do that, and then he did it a little bit better. Who was credited? The guy Joseph Priestley. He's credited with creating the process of infusing water with carbon dioxide. So he's the father of it, of the process. But then Schweppes is the father of carbonated water, which is, I don't know. It's like a stepdad or something. I don't know. He explained his findings in a paper that he called, and this is still Joseph Priestley we're talking about, not Johann Schwepp, just to keep it clear. Priestley, he described his findings in a paper called Impregnating Water with Fixed Air. I just thought that was a cool title. That's why I included that. Impregnating Water with Fixed Air. Okay, so back to Schweppes. He tried his carbonated water out that he had created in London, but it didn't sell. And later we will talk about a couple other failed water campaigns, one specifically in the UK. Some imitations will be created, like I said, and they were say that the carbonation, because the original bottled water was not carbonated, right? It was just regular, but the imitation bottled water, that was basically imitating the health benefits that bottled water was then said to have had. It was said that the carbonation helped bring out all the minerals in the water. So it's oh yeah, this is that busy stuff, it's like bringing out that extra good, people are ridiculous, but they will believe basically anything. At some point, the first patent for imitation mineral water was filed by Joseph Hawkins in 1809. One of the first big manufacturers of bottled water in America was a company by the name of Poland Springs, which they weren't a company, of course, when they first started, but they started as a small inn that had a spring on the property, and then they always drank from that stream, or excuse me, the spring. But one of their family members had been suffering from a disease called dyspepsia, and he began drinking from that stream exclusively, and evidently it cured him. And so word got out about that. People thought that was really cool. Wanted to swing by and check out that spring. Family began to market their inn as a place that had water with special health benefits in 1844, and that began to get the name out about Poland Springs. And from there, they started bottling and selling that water. They still operate today, although they don't use the same spring that cured the guy's dyspepsia. And they tell you that on the website, which I think is pretty cool. But it still runs, though, and you can see it if you go to the property, which is now, I guess, on my bucket list. Another thing that led to the spread of bottled water was the technological innovations that of like cheaper glass and quicker bottling. So this all comes like a perfect storm when that guy gets his dyspepsia cured, and they're like, man, we can start making this bottled water fast, and everyone wants to come over and hang out and drink all this bottled water. And in addition to the perceived health benefits coming from places like Poland Springs, it was believed that bottled water was safer than many municipal water supplies, and they were afraid of the spread of disease. And so that's essentially how water happened. That's not like the end of this segment, but I'm just saying, like, I could obviously just get deeper and just go into all these different companies that kind of made it over the next like 150 years. But that's, like I've said multiple times when I try to really kind of explain the direction of where I'm trying to go with this podcast, that's not really what this is about. It's really just about how did we go from, people just drinking it from, because I looked that up as well. Like, how did people do water before bottled water? How did humans, get their water? That's how I kind of started off with the Romans. And even before I looked at that, the cavemen, they said they would boil it in like skin bags or like hide bags and stuff like that. And so it's always been interesting to me, like, how people get their water. And it's not, the rest of it is not that interesting to me. So yeah, I mean, as far as like for this podcast, but so what I will get into though is the idea of bottled water versus tap water, which is like this whole war in itself. And I will honestly say, when I was doing the research, and you never know what you're gonna find when you start searching this stuff up. You really don't, because I don't look most of this stuff up beforehand. That's why I'm doing it. I don't know anything about this stuff. I mean, I do all my research. I'm the only person working on this podcast, so I mean, I'm finding all this new stuff all the time. But you have to kind of fight through all of this, like, bottled water is not it's not spring water, it's tap water or whatever. And I mean, and I found out that most of that's true, but I didn't know that. But it's like that's when I'm trying to find out the history of bottled water. All they're doing is telling you that bottled water sucks, basically. And you have to like figure out. Like, I basically had to watch all of that and then find the right stuff. But I'll get into that now. Just a little bit of like, Aquafina, I guess, want to say is I did not know this. And this is not part of the I did not know segment for the record, but it's not bottled anywhere from like anywhere natural. It's straight up tap water. I mean, it's, what I mean? It's they got the the mountains or whatever on the bottle, and it's not, but it does say on the back, PWS, which is a public water source. Basically means, we got it from the same place that you can turn on your faucet and get it. But basically, it's just purified and bottled tap water. Dasani does the same thing. They say at least 25% of the bottled water on the market is just tap water. To me, so 1 in 4 companies out there are just selling you sink water. Interesting. And then I watched this video that was mentioning a specific time. They said around in like the 70s. Bottled water, the people who were making sodas were trying to make more money because they realized that their profits, while they weren't going up, they were basically just staying the same. So they wanted to make more money, and they were trying to figure out how to get people to, drink. How can I put this? They realized that they couldn't get people to drink their product, their bottled water, without slandering, the tap water. So basically, that is a lot of, I think, how a lot of the bias, at least in the last couple generations, from water has come into play, from literally like just like product placement and like marketing and advertising and saying like you shouldn't. And I mean, there's some real stories out there. I mean, I definitely have been around people, and I've been places where it's like you should not drink their tap water, but it's like far and away, like from the research that I've done, is like most places have decent tap water, and I found that as well. It's like only if you're in a place where people are like, bro, don't do that. You know what I mean? Like you shouldn't. Then you know what I mean? But it's only been a couple places in my life. Granted, I mean, maybe I've not been that many places, but and that is how bottled water happened.
And now it's time for the roundup. The roundup. And we're going to round it up.
The Holy Well in Britain was the first site of bottled water in the world. Bottled water gains popularity due to the perceived health benefits of natural spring water. This led to bottled water becoming abundant at spas, and those spa waters began being sold in local stores. Better glass and machinery allowed for more bottles to be sold, and that, coupled with the idea that municipal water sources were subpar, created a market for water in bottles. Things I didn't know before, and now I know them. Never heard of these things. What are they? Okay, yeah, I thought so. This was interesting, and some people may know this. I had never seen this, but in 2006, that the Fiji Water Company ran a campaign that was based on the fact, just based on the fact that their water was not bottled in Cleveland, Ohio, because everyone loves to take shots at Cleveland, and like the idea is that you need to go to the beautiful mountains or tropical streams to get like the best water, and not like somewhere, in Ohio. And so they obviously Cleveland did not like that. And so this prompted the Cleveland Water Department to run tests comparing their water to Fiji. And the Fiji sample had at least 6.3 micrograms of arsenic per liter, and the Cleveland sample had none. So basically, Cleveland's water was better than Fiji, and Fiji should have kept their mouth shut. But I just thought that was really interesting to just like that Fiji just took a shot like that. And but it proves kind of what I was saying about the idea is like this, that there was like this overall like campaign to slander tap water. And I mean, honestly, I'm saying this as somebody who really doesn't drink that much tap water. I mean, I'll do it if I have to, but it's really not. It's because I don't know. It's drinkable, but I would rather I'm just used to bottled water. That's just the best way to describe it. Like I know I could survive on tap water, but I'd rather just not. Okay, yeah, and then so one last campaign that I talked about. I mentioned earlier that I would bring this up. In 2003. Coca-Cola tried to launch Dasani in the UK because they could see a need for budget bottled water. They already had bottled water over there, but it was all like the premium stuff. And I'm saying that they may have had other like cheaper bottles of water, but like Coca-Cola was trying to like do Coca-Cola's version of like European bottled water basically. And their ad campaign's tagline was, and they did not know that spunk in the UK is slang for semen. And it didn't help that the people in the print ads were literally pouring water on themselves. I'm not kidding, and I will be posting pictures. But I watched another video that said that the marketing campaigns was created by the UK's Coca-Cola division, and that they knew what they were doing, and that would make more sense considering, like I said, some of these ads that I saw. But like this wasn't the only issue that like basically sunk Dasani, and then like they still don't sell it over there. I watched a video that was made like I think 2 years ago, and the guy was saying like there's no, which I'd have never really thought of, and you just go over there and you just assume like, oh, they just haven't made it over here. It's like, no, they tried to make it over here and it really didn't work. But like I said, that wasn't the only issue. It was found that the filtration process added a potentially cancer-causing substance called bromide, and eventually they pulled Dasani from the markets in the UK. Later on, Dasani bought a UK company called Abbey Well, and so they kind of entered. They were still able to enter the British bottled water market, but not like in the way that they wanted to. Okay, so this one has nothing to do really with the episode at all, but I did learn it while I was researching it, and I just thought it was crazy. So to me, I mean, not everything's crazy to everybody, but basically, the Black Plague is not fully eradicated. So I didn't know that. The one that killed like 20 million people like 700 years ago, it's still around. It's nothing like it was, but according to the World Health Organization, there's still between 1 and 3,000 people a year who get it. That's wild. That's crazy to me. Like I said, I don't know if it's crazy to you, but the Black the Black Death is still out there. And then this one is a little more geared to the episode. Switzerland is said to have the cleanest tap water out there. Some say Rome, because they receive an astounding 97% of their water from springs. But so I'm not really sure. Never been to either. Rome, I would say to me, just because they say if almost basically all of your water comes from naturally like flowing, occurring springs. That sounds dope. I didn't know that. That's all I got for the I didn't knows. I mean, the rest of them you kind of laid them out in the episode. So, all right. That's been another episode of How Did That Happen? We talked about bottled water this time. That was pretty wild. Learned a lot of interesting stuff. I'll definitely be posting some videos, some pictures on the Twitter page, especially of those Dasani ads, because they are just as wild as I said they are. When you look at them, you will not believe that people said, oh, people will want to buy water from this, or this has anything to do with actually drinking water. Really, probably the second part. But yeah, we're trying to grow over here. Still looking into the idea of moving the RSS feed over to another website, like an actual How Did That Happen website, which we'd be able to do a lot more there. But still doing still trying to figure that out. But keep coming back, you guys. I appreciate it. Everybody who presses play and comes back every week. We'll be doing more episodes, and see you guys next week.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.